Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of The Expansion Point. I am your host, Brad Johnson. I'm looking forward to a really great conversation today. You may just see a little bit of a light reflection in the background here. This is just because I have a black veil and there's some glass in the background, so that's kind of reflecting the light, in case anybody's wondering. So, anyways, we're going to be talking about something really exciting today, and this is going to be all about spirit assistance. But before I get into that, I just want to make a quick announcement, is that on my website, New Earth Teachings, tomorrow I'm going to be launching a really exciting course. It's called the Body Regeneration Series, Regenerating the Physical Body Through Theta State and Cellular Programming. So as many of you may be aware, I talked about the theta state in the very first episode of the Expansion Point, and this course teaches you how to easily enter the theta state and, of course, working together on how to program your cells so that you're able to work together with self-healing on a more advanced level. So again, if you guys are interested in checking out this course, there is a pre-order sale that's happening right now. The pre-order is lasting up till today and up until tomorrow afternoon. So you can go to newearthteachings.com for that, and you guys can check it out. Again, it's really, really exciting. So let's go ahead and get started today with spirit assistance. Now, in previous videos, I've also talked about how you can access your higher self, learning more about the state of channeling also. But really, when we're getting into spirit assistance, we're really just looking into the nature of our own guidance. So our own guidance is a very, very subtle thing. A lot of people, when I'm doing sessions with people, they ask me, well, how can I tune in to my guidance? How do I tune in to basically getting that impulse to follow the heart, to work with my emotions, to work with my feelings? What do I have to do that? Well, basically, when we're looking at our guidance, it is a very, very subtle thing, right? It's like looking at a sine wave that barely has any hills or valleys around it, right? Very, very, very subtle energy. So when we are feeling very deeply emotional, when we feel like we're just in an uproar, we're basically going like this, right? This becomes an intense sine wave. And when we are in that state of intensity and we're trying to go within, it just can't be done. It would be like the analogy of you being inside a very large room with about 1,000 people talking to you all at once. And one of those people would represent your guidance. So your guidance may, in that sense, be in the middle of the room, but there's over 1,000 people now that are around you, and they're all talking to you at the same time. We're not able to hear our guidance when we're in that heavy emotional state. So again, we're getting all of this white noise, white static that comes in as we start to communicate with our spirit guidance. So what we're doing is we're learning to calm ourselves. So what we have to do is often when we're very emotional, we have to let that emotion out. We need to let it be shared as it needs to, right? So if we're going into our bedroom, if we're going into somewhere private where we can be with this emotion and we need to talk it out, we need to share it in some way, even if you have to go outside and punch a punching bag, whatever you have to do, right? You want to be able to get that emotion out, right? Not trying to bottle it in. The last thing you ever want to do with an emotion is bottle it in and try to, completely compress it into yourself and just bury it and then pretend to have a smiley face. It's the absolute worst thing that you can ever do. Okay? Don't do that. We want to make sure that, again, if we're surrounded by a lot of people and we're getting agitated, we're getting angry, then we want to excuse ourselves. We want to step out of the room. We want to find a place that's private, and then we basically want to start to work with this emotional state and just letting it out, letting it need to be shared as it needs to, because there's even times where I get agitated and irritated and I'm in the shower and I'm just starting to say, okay, I need to let this out. I need to get this out. What is this emotion saying to me? What is it telling me? There's agitation. So I want to work with that. I want to get an understanding about that emotion. And then as I'm focusing on it and I'm letting it out and I'm getting a kind of great understanding to it, it's no longer bothersome. So it now becomes completely neutralized. So as it becomes neutralized, I'm now looking into that sine wave. Excuse me, guys. Seems to happen to me every morning. Get this hoarse kind of voice. It's because this is the first time I'm talking to anybody in the morning, so got to exercise up the vocal cords. So again, we get this sine wave now because we are neutralized. So we are in that neutral type of state, and now we can kind of refresh ourselves. There's kind of a feeling that you get when you start to work with your emotions, and then they actually come into a point where they become resolved. It's like what we call a celestial wash. It's like you just start to feel lighter. So you have this really heavy weight of emotion, and you start working with it, and it now just completely uplifts, and it resolves itself through you. And now you're just feeling like, oh my God, I felt like I lost 20 pounds of weight just by dealing with that heavy emotion. That's a great feeling. You want that feeling, right? You want to resolve that. Really, what we're attempting to train ourselves to do is become emotional resolution specialists. Okay? Become an emotional resolution specialist for yourself. And as you start to work together with your emotions and you start to work with these challenges and you now start to go back into that sine wave of subtlety, you're now a specialist. You can now assist others as well too with this. So again, you want to tell other people, whatever you do, please don't bury your emotion. Because as soon as you bury that, it's going to come back around again. And the next time it's going to come back around, it's going to be 3 times more intense than it was before. Okay, so you really want to make sure that when you have emotions coming through you, you are letting them out. You are letting them be expressed. You're letting them create resolution through yourself. So now that we have that state of resolution and we're in that sine wave, we're now able to check in with ourselves. We're now able to work together with spirit. Now, it all depends upon the person. There may be some people watching this that are very highly clairvoyant. And so they're able to see energies around them. And they know like when their guide is coming through, or if their higher self is nearby, or any other particular type of visual phenomenon that's letting them know that they're tuning into their guidance. Some of us may not have that particular clairvoyant ability. Some people may be able to hear a voice within their mind, right? Clairaudience. And they may be able to tune into that, and they're talking to their higher self that way. Some people like me may be claircognizant, where we just have a state of clair knowing, right? Instantaneous knowing. And that's claircognizance. It's just that you know something. You can't explain how you know it. You just know that it's there. You know that this is what's being realized. And you follow through with that, right? That's my ability. That's the ability that I hold the strongest. I have a little bit of clairvoyance. Clairaudience I do have if I go very deeper into like a higher theta or a kind of a deeper delta state. Then I certainly have voices coming into my head for sure. Usually when I'm just about to drift off to sleep. So there was one time when I was actually drifting off to sleep. It was quite a few years ago. And I was actually hearing a soccer game. I was actually tuning in myself like a radio dial, and I'm hearing like this Spanish announcer. And they're basically, "Look, goal!" Right? That was very, very strange. So it was like I was tuning into some radio signal transmissions or something. But I remember that quite vividly. Just before I was about to dart off to sleep, I'm like, oh, am I hearing a soccer game in my head? What's going on here? So it's quite interesting. But again, some of us have these particular abilities, right? Our inner abilities are quite developed, or some of us may not have those inner abilities quite developed. Of course, there is also what's known as clairempathy, right? There is the ability to be empathic, to hear, to feel, to sense, to get some particular type of impression of knowing another person's feelings or being very deeply aware of your own. So again, whatever these particular forms of abilities, and of course there's more as well too, but whatever these abilities are that you have, you want to put to use, right? So you want to become familiar with the inner sense that you feel is your strongest. Is it clairvoyance? Is it clairaudience? Is it claircognizance? Is it clairsentience, where you're able to feel energy around you? Is it the idea of clairempathy? Is it clairgustance or claircentric abilities, psychic smell, psychic taste? So we want to discover what that inner sense is. So again, we basically close our eyes and we say, okay, well, how's my clairvoyance? Am I able to just visualize something quite easily as I close my eyes? How's my clairaudience? Am I able to hear a voice as I go into a state of silence? How's my claircognizance? Am I able just to get this feeling of having instantaneous knowing? How about my clairsentience? Am I able to feel energies? Maybe a change in temperature, maybe a thickness of energy that's flowing around my space. How about clairempathy? Am I able to read people's thoughts quite easily? Or I wouldn't say thoughts, sorry. Read people's emotions quite easily. Reading people's thoughts is telepathy, so that's a different story. But empathy in that sense, which comes from the heart, we're basically connecting together with empathy of others. So we want to discover exactly what we feel is our strongest inner sense. And we want to use that particular inner sense as a means of checking in within ourselves. So now we're checking in with spiritual guidance. Again, we're not being emotional. We're completely neutralizing our minds. So basically, if we're not dealing with any emotions, but we still feel somewhat agitated or we still feel out of focus, follow the breath, right? Go back to the breath. Now what you can do is just hold out your index finger or hold out your thumb like this and focus on it. Okay, give yourself about a good 30 seconds to focus on your thumb. All right, you can focus on the thumbnail, for example. Okay, and this captures your focus. This is helping you to balance now. Some people will also light a match or a lighter, and they'll focus on the flame. Okay, and that will take their focus directly into that space, right? So just use your thumb. Use your thumb, use your index finger, whatever you like. Just have a point of focus. And keep that point of focus again for at least 30 seconds. And once you have gone there, now just take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. And now we're checking in. Okay, so we may want to ask a question within our mind. We may want to speak with Spirit in this way. And we're just saying, Spirit, is this happening to me? Or what's going on, Spirit? Right? And then being able to get something to come together. So depending upon one's focus, they can go into an alpha state or they can go into a theta state, depending upon the person. Now basically, if we are holding out our thumb in that particular way and we want to go into a theta state, and basically what we're doing is we're actually feeling the energy of the thumb, or we're feeling the energy of the index finger. And we're feeling exactly the energy that surrounds it. We may feel like there may be a little bit of a tingling sensation as well too. We're focusing on that, and we're feeling the mind focusing on the tingling sensation around the finger, and the finger in that sense is tingling. That's theta, because the mind and the body are in sync. Okay, so we are again going into theta state. Some people will just go into alpha because they'll just do a pure focus of the mind. Okay, the alpha state in that sense is not quite fully in sync with the body and the mind. It's more so that the mind is somewhere and that the body is kind of a little bit more stationary, right? So it's kind of focusing in a way, but when you're actually stepping it up to where there is a complete synchronization, where the mind and the body are basically, you could say, feeling the same thing, that's theta state, okay? So you're going into theta, you're going into alpha, whichever you prefer, but the whole idea is that you're focusing, right? You're going into a deep state of focus, and then when you're going into theta, you're kind of going into kind of like a daydream, and you're feeling that connection between the mind and the body in synchronization. So once we're there again, we want to talk to the God mind. We want to talk to our higher self. We want to talk to Spirit. And so now we are sharing questions. We're now getting ideas and saying, oh, should I go to this place tomorrow? Or how about this person that I met? Are they trustworthy? Or whatever it may be, right? You're posing some particular type of question to your mind. Now, what most of us discover when we're starting to pose this question for Spirit assistance is that we may start to feel a feeling coming into our heart that just gives some particular type of confirmation. Okay? Now, we can incorporate this feeling of response in a couple of different ways. One, again, is through internal trust about what you're receiving in the heart, what you're receiving through claircognizance, for example, or through vision. Secondly, we can do it through kinesiology. We can do it through muscle testing. Okay? Now, normally, muscle testing is all about reading the body in that way. It's a kinesiology. But you are able to prep it in a particular way where you're in that deep theta state and you're telling Spirit to work through your arm, to work through your hand, to work through your finger, to whatever type of modality you do with kinesiology. You're telling Spirit to work with your arm here, saying, Spirit, work with my arm. I'm going to do a muscle test. Okay? So you're basically just taking a few moments and you're letting Spirit come into your arm. Okay? So you're just saying, Spirit, great Spirit, come into my arm, for I am going to do a muscle test. Okay? So now that I'm asking a question, blah, 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 and then I test and I get a strong or I get a weak response. If you guys aren't familiar with kinesiology, lots of YouTube videos that you can check it out. But all you're really doing is you're working with the muscles of your body to test their strength. Okay? So if you get a strong response, then that basically refers to a positive or a yes response. If you're getting a weak response, a negative or no response. So that's a very simple way that you can also do that as well too. But again, 9 times out of 10, kinesiology is mainly to speak to the body. Like some people want to forecast events with kinesiology. And like I said, you really need to get spirit to work together with you on that. And a lot of it, again, is really trusting it, knowing that this can actually happen, right? So yes, you certainly can have spirit come through the arm. You can have your guidance come through your arm if you want to speak in a kinesiological sense, right? So I'm getting these little orbs floating around. These are nice. This isn't dust, guys. There's no dust around me. These are little orbs just kind of float into my environment every now and then. So it's beautiful. Um, so again, you just basically get spirit to come through your arm and you're muscle testing yourself, right? So people will do like the chain, right, with their fingers as well too. I also do a version what's called the duck, right, where it's like a clamp and you're trying to push down in that way as well too. Some people will also stand up straight and they'll basically see if they lean forward or lean backwards, right? That can represent the idea of a response or if you have a strong sense of balance. Some people will put their ankle over their knee and try to push their ankle off their knee. So there's many different ways about doing a kinesiological practice. So you can test it out. But I've been doing a lot of kinesiology since 2009. So that was just before I was starting to learn a lot more about my own inner guidance. But again, if you're able to really just tune in and connect with your guide in theta state, connect with your spiritual guidance, and therefore get that type of answer, that's how we're working together with spirit assistance. Now, spirit will always work with you, right? But the whole idea in that sense is that you have to be willing to work with spirit as well, right? Spirit is very, very willing to work with you. You're connecting with your own spirit. You're connecting with your own God self. Of course, it's going to work with you, right? But you have to get into that alignment to know that this is something that you can use, right? So this is what we often call checking in with our own spirit assistance. Now, spirit is not here to do tasks for you. This is a very, very important thing as well, too. Because I do get people from time to time asking me, can spirit just do this? You know, can I just get an extraterrestrial that comes down and they can just take care of this matter for me and I don't have to worry about it? No, they cannot do that, right? This is your life. This is your creation. This is exactly where you belong. And as this is your reality, your life, as you're the only one here, everybody else is just an avatar. So you're looking at different people, places, events, and things. But these are props, you could say, that are helping you to understand more of yourself. Let's look at it in this way. When you go inside your own inner universe, it is the causal plane. It's where everything relating to cause happens. When you therefore take that cause and you put it out here, this becomes the effect plane. And everything relating to effect happens out here. But the effect is just a projection screen. It's just a hologram. So, cause, effect. Cause, effect. That's how it works. When you're relying on somebody else outside of yourself, what you're basically doing is you're trying to get the hologram as effect to try and create cause. They can't do that, guys. It's not possible. Your cause comes through here. There is no cause outside. So everything that's outside of your reality cannot be the result of some particular type of cause that can just come in and say, oh, hey, well, I'm the effect. I'll come in and I'll fix the cause for you. You can't do that. It's not possible. So the whole idea here is that you really have to see yourself as creator. And no matter how many times I tell this to people, it still doesn't ring in. I'm still just a human being. I'm still just in this physical body. I'm still just in this physical life. How could I possibly do that? Because you're beyond this physical body. You're beyond a physical human. You're beyond this physical life. You have to tap into that and you have to realize your greatness. A lot of people have a lot of difficulty accepting that. Because again, we have got into the illusion of spinning around on this planet and spinning around in all of these systems and all of these circumstances, and we feel small. We need to get past that. You got to get past this whole idea of feeling small, of seeing separate, of feeling separation, of feeling completely insignificant, right? You are creator of your own reality. So again, when you are checking in with spirit, spirit can only function as a guide. That is entirely the function of spirit while you're here in this particular type of reality. You have basically condensed yourself in this form to basically create the illusion that there is an individual, that there is a personality, that there is an identity here. And so you are working with yourself to say, no, I am so much more than this physical body. I am so much more than the mind. I am the pure essence of all that is. And that I am able to work together with my reality, and I can reshape everything. Everything in this reality truly is clay, right? It's a sandbox. You're going in, you're building these castles, you're building these sand figurines. Everything that you see, smell, taste, touch, and hear and witness within yourself is your own creation. That is not a metaphorical aspect here. That is very literal. Everything that's around you right now, you have personally created, which means you've created holograms to create these things for you. So you have a desk in front of you, you have a house in front of you, your holograms created that. It made it so that you could be here in this particular space, right? You have to grasp that. You have to really get an understanding of this, is that it's the aspect of the avatars that are working together, and now you are bringing these things to you because this is what you have willed as a creator for you to receive, to experience, to play with. So again, when we're looking into spirit assistance, our spiritual essence is telling you, we can help you out, we can give you guidance, we can assist you, but we're not here to do all these tasks for you. The reason, again, why we ask that is because we feel completely powerless for us to actually come into ourselves and start to correct these things. Even though it's one of the most simplest things to do, we complicate the absolute hell out of it. Because we are trained to believe that everything that you do in life that is rewarding must come through so much effort. And this is a delusion. It is the idea that all you're really doing here is looking at the power of your thoughts, looking at the power of your feelings, looking at the power of your intention and your focus. And that is determining what you understand is the sphere of your reality. So again, Spirit is helping us to say, tune into your heart. Let heart make the decisions and just follow through. The heart is not going to lead you wrong. Your thoughts are going to lead you wrong. Your ego is going to make you lead yourself wrong. Your logic is going to lead you wrong, but your heart is not, because your heart is the epicenter of empathy. It is where your intuition is. And when you start tuning into that epicenter, now heart is guiding you through this dark tunnel. It's that blazing torch, and it can get as bright and as bright and as bright and as bright as you want, and you can now see the entire tunnel. But if you only have this little flickering flame here, that's a tongue twister, flickering flame here in your heart, then you're only going to see so much as you walk ahead, and you may trip. You may trip over a rock, and you tumble to the ground, and now you start whining, and I don't want to be here, this sucks, I don't want to be on this planet anymore, blah, 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 right? And I get that a lot as well, too. Again, thousands of sessions I've done over the years, guys. I've heard pretty much every particular thing you can imagine. I've heard people, just complain so much to the point where they just don't want to be here. I've had people in that sense who have nearly wanted to commit suicide because they don't want to be here on this planet. And it's understandable. I understand its frustration. I've certainly had those situations as well, too, way before my spiritual awakening, where I also felt kind of suicidal thoughts as well. So I can understand that. But the whole idea in that sense is we just have to learn to think simply. We have to learn to feel simply. We have to learn to simplistically balance ourselves. But it is such a rat race outside here, basically going into our own effect chaos, that we get so caught up in it. And our entire attention is divided. We're going into a million different directions all at the same time. So we want to make sure that we're getting ourselves together. This is why we're working with spirit assistance. This is why we're going into the alpha state, the theta state, right? Focusing on your finger and just going into that state and surrendering and connecting and getting that feeling, right? I can't really describe it any better than that. It's for you to really try it and for you to connect with this in this way, because you're dealing with something that is very, very intangible. Right? And it's only truly tangible to yourself because you're witnessing it. You're discovering it yourself. This is why it's always so challenging to try and tell a person, so, oh, Brad, how does this work? Can you prove it? I said, I can't prove it, right? This is your own reality. I can't come into your reality and start creating for you, right? I'm only showing you what has worked for me and being able to pass this on to you for you to go ahead and try. But so many people are into lip service, and that doesn't work, right? It's as if, again, very few people actually practice this art. A lot of people talk about it like it's the gospel. Very few people actually do it, right? That's what I've noticed over the years as well, too. Very few people actually start to do their inner work because they're so caught up in the melodramatic effects of their reality, being pulled into a million different directions at the same time. And all they have to really do is go inside, surrender themselves, work with their heart, work with their emotions, work with their trauma, transmute it, turn it into love and compassion, start following a life of love and compassion. It's all you have to do, period, right? There's nothing else to do at all. You resolve yourself, you work with yourself, you emotionally detoxify yourself, you spiritually detoxify yourself, you mentally detoxify yourself, you physically detoxify yourself. And now you become a receptive antenna. You become the hardware for the software of spirit. And so now we start to work together and we develop the cause within ourselves that is now in harmony, and it broadcasts into effect, which represents the outside of reality. So the outer reality represents a projection screen. So what are you here to do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Love, compassion, appreciation, trusting yourself. That's it. Taking responsibility for everything that you create and walking that path through love, compassion, appreciation, honor, and trust. And the more that you do that, you reshape your entire reality. Rather than, oh, but what about my parents? What about my best friends? What about this? How are they going to get this? How are they going to get this? When you ask that question, you're basically thinking that you can go inside their reality and change them. You can't change anybody. Okay? Very important for you also to understand that. You're not going into someone else's reality and saying that, oh, but what about my mom? What about my dad? Are they going to be able to go through this? We don't know, right? There's always a possibility that that can happen, but they have to make the decision themselves. You can always support, you can always inspire, you can always share ideas, but they're the ones that have to decide, oh, this means something to me, and now I'll go ahead and I'll do it. All you're here to do is be the best example of yourself. Stop worrying about trying to change everybody else. Just be the best example of what you feel you can be, and other people will come together in that state of appropriation, magnetically, coherently, connecting together with you. That's the whole idea, is that as you shift, your reality shifts. There's no such thing as a generic collective. You're bringing through all of these unique collectives through yourself. So when you notice that other people within your reality are changing, they haven't changed. You've changed to shift into that reality where it appears that other people have changed, but it's actually you that have made that particular change. Okay? Spiritual assistance will help you with this. Spiritual guidance will help you with this. But you have to really know that you can commit, you can dedicate yourself to making this a part of yourself. This is not just something that's some part-time thing that you can just brush off and say, oh, I'll just do it for fun. What the heck, right? If you really want to be on a spiritual path, you have to take it more seriously than anything you've ever taken before. It is a lifelong commitment. It is a 180-degree turn to everything that you know. Your reality will turn upside down. You will break yourself apart and build yourself back up again. That's what I had to do. I had to break myself down and build myself up to be this person that I am right now. And I loved every minute of it. And it was not an easy journey at all. I had to go through a lot of intense changes to make that happen. Right? And this is what happens to everybody. Everybody that truly takes this seriously and walks this path with great dedication and great commitment breaks themselves down, builds themselves back up. Because you want to basically completely deconstruct yourself to work with all of these emotional intensities that you have and then bringing them back into love. It is the love that resculptures you. It is the love that creates this new mold that you therefore become. It's being born a second time. This is what Jesus talked about. Every person has the opportunity to be born a second time. Not through the flesh, but through the spirit. That's exactly what this is. You're being born the first time with the idea of being a physical human being. You break yourself down. You rebirth yourself a second time, and now you're reborn through spirit. And this is the journey. This is what you're going through. And when you rebirth yourself through spirit, you are the epitome of love. You are the epitome of compassion. You are the epitome of heart and trust. And you rebuild that within yourself, and you're spreading that energy out towards everybody else in your reality. Okay, that's the nature of spirit. It's not about going out and trying to change somebody. It's not about going out and try to feel you have to change everything, because that becomes an insecure mind. To try to change somebody in that sense based upon what you feel is right is arrogance. So that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you feel that you're on the highest cloud nine ever and saying, you guys have to do this the way that I do it. You guys have to look into this the same way that I do. You're in a complete state of arrogance, right? You want to get past that. Just be the example of yourself and greeting people. Very, very soft, right? Very loving. If we ever tried to approach a person with a sense of desperation, then that person is going to look at this and say, this guy's out of his mind. This person's nuts. He's like trying to start some type of religion or something and trying to recruit me, right? It's no more different than our religions of the world. Be very, very careful with that, right? There's so much distortion that happens in our outer reality of what we feel we have to do. This is why we say the only thing you truly trust relating to your own knowledge is through yourself, right? That's the important part. You have to learn how to access your own books, how to access your own knowledge, how to access your own library, because you hold the truth of your reality. It's not found anywhere else. Outside is only a reminder for you to go back inside, because this is where everything is caused. Okay? So that's what I want to share again for this episode of the Expansion Point, Spirit Assistance. Remember to check in with yourself. Remember to work with spirit. Know your inner abilities. Follow your love. Follow your compassion. Follow your heart. And become the example of the person that you want to be. And then everything around your reality will correlate together to that resulting vibrational effect. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And I'll speak to you again next week on the Expansion Point here on the Akashic Academy Network. Much love to you all, and may it be well with you. Take care.